is like the logical issue related to sport injuries. Firstly, the result of athlete activity in physical injuries, and these injuries produce a variety of psychological reaction. Like when the athlete got injuries, they maybe feel low confidence, stress, and depression. Okay, for next, psychological factors like especially stress are an important antecedents to injuries. They play an important role in injuries rehabilitation and contribute successful return to play. Uh, this kind of rehabilitation, when the athlete got injuries, is important to main to got the player or athlete become normal or avoid for injuries.
Respond to sport injury. So I will present about risk of sport injury. What if an athlete risk of sport injury could be predicted by their personality type? It's very much a philosophical argument about how much the physical, visual, psychological factor contribute to sport injury. However, both theoretically and empirically, this just seem to be key philological determines that increase an athletic risk of sport injury. The established Williams and Anderson modern force suggests a number of key psychological factors contribute to an athlete's risk of injury. It is a thought that an athletic history of stresses, personality, and coping resources of all come together to affect their cognitive appraisals of a particular incident leading to adverse stress response and subsequent sport injury. History of stresses including those that are sport specific, injury history, and importantly the away from sport life stressors. Example, significant change such as relationship breakdown and moving home. At risk personality variable include poor self-esteem, high anxiety level, neuroticism, risk-taking, and hardness. Coping resources including having appropriate social support, sleep, coping diet, education, awareness, and relationship skill. So I will present the slide for number 4 and number 5. It is about response to sport injury. As practitioners, we are constantly challenged to manage the psychological fallout from sustaining sport injury. According to both theory and empirical evidence, we should assume that to an athlete getting injury is a significant life event and that this affects this athlete's interlinking emotional condition and behavior. Emotional response are about what we feel, cognitive about how we think, and behavior about what we do. This response can be adaptive and facilitated recovering or maladaptive, ultimately hindering recovery. For example, it is common for an injured athlete to question their competencies. I cannot do it anymore. Suffer with high level of re-injury existed. I will not do this exercise as it will only make it worse and question their identity. If I cannot train and compete, what am I supposed to do now? Which can lead to maladaptive behavior such as population but a sense of loss and grief with emotional of frustration, anger, and depression is commonly reported in the research throughout a predictive order. As a result of some of limitation in state-based appropriate in explaining psychological response to sport injury, cognitive appraisals appropriate have developed a reputation for being more credible. Cognitive embraces a process through which potentially stressful situations, such as sustaining an injury, are assessed as being stressful and resources to cope with that stress are solved. Common stressors including medical, sport-related, social, and finance demand. The integrated model of response to sport injury is one of the most supported of these. This model suggests that both personal experience of injury and situational factor, perception of social support relating to being an injury athlete may dictate cognitive appearance. This then subsequently affects emotional response and behavioral response to impulsive recovery outcome. At the heart of the model is a dynamic core which should be appreciated as a three-dimensional spirit toward full recovery, heading outward in clockwise direction and away from full recovery, heading downward in counterclockwise direction. Essentially, what the research tells us is that an athlete's psychological response to sport injury has to be seen as being dynamic, highly individual, and change in direction and magnitude over time. Now, we talk about psychological issues of athletic injury rehabilitation. Psychological and emotional reactions play a key role in injury rehabilitation. Injured athletes treated with a rehabilitation program that includes addressing these issues experience less drive. The use of psychological strategies such as goal setting, positive self-statement, cognitive restructuring, and it can reduce stress and increasing social support. Rehabilitation may be affected by emotional reactions, the most common of which are loss of identity, fear, and loss of some confidence. So, what defines characterizing poor adjustment to injuries, like unreasonable fear of re-injury, and continued Okay, the first thing we talk about is warning signs characterizing poor adjustment to injury. The first one is unreasonable fear of re-injury and continued injury severity and response to recover. The second one is about general impatience because they are obsession with the question of return to play. So, the most important question is physiological issues.
For the next slide is physiological issue and return to play. Firstly, emotional reaction, including a lack of confidence, apprehension, and fear, may accompany an athlete's return to play. This reaction may become problematic, interfere with performance, and increase the probability of re-injury. It is essential the team physician understand. The first is coordinate the athletic care network to monitor the psychological readiness of athletes who are preparing to return to play or have returned to play. Next is coordinate effort to maintain the athlete's contact with the team to enhance psychological readiness. The third is coordinate physiological support service as needed.
For the next slide is referring athlete to mental health providers. It is initial to the team physician. The first one is identify licensed mental health providers for any referral. The second one is integrate licensed mental health providers into the athlete care network. After that, education coaches parents and athletes about the importance of psychological treatment. Next, dispel the perception that counseling equal weakness. So the last one is coordinate coordinate referral for mental health treatment. Involve mental health provider in educational programs for coaches, athletes, and parents about physiological issues. Okay, for our conclusion, physiological factor has been shown to be an important to the onset of athletes' injuries and also play an important role in injury rehabilitation and ultimately successful return to play. Team physicians must consider physiological as well as physical factor when treating and coordinating care for injured